This has been in the refrigerator for about a half an hour, like I said. I'm looking at it. You can see it's definitely a more of an oatmeal consistency. You can see that. It's not as sticky as it was, although it does still stick to your fingers. Okay, I'm going to start now. I'm making two different kinds. The matzo balls are the same, but the soup is different, and it makes it a different type. So what I'm going to be doing right now is I'm going to be making a vegetarian matzo ball soup, and the only difference is that I'm using a vegetable broth instead of a chicken broth. It is vegetarian. They can have eggs, so it's not vegan, but it is vegetarian. All right, so as you can see in here, this pot, we do have a rolling boil going, and I'm going to come over to the sink, and I'm going to put on a little bit of a running water. You do this running water so that when you come in here to form your balls, they don't stick to your hand. You're going to see. Okay, so if you do it this way, they're not going to stick, and you make it as close to a ball as you possibly can, and then you plop it in there. Hopefully it doesn't sink, and then you know you have some air in that matzo ball. But you always come back and you wet your hands. I'll show you what happens if you don't. So I did this one a little bit bigger, but that's okay. So you drop it in, let it cook.
Floaters.
Again, I know it's time consuming and it was probably a pain in the butt, but you need to keep wetting your hands. I'm going to do this last one, and then I'm going to show you why I tell you to wet your hands. And again, you're going to make it as close to a ball as you can. They may change. They may... These look good. They look like they're not going to flatten. Okay, so now I'm not going to wet my hands this time. I'm going to show you what happens if you don't wet your hands. You see, as you're trying to, I mean, I still have a little water in my hands, but if my hands were dry, it would all stick. So we're going to do these. As you can see in here, the one side is like, what you're going to do is you're going to let that one side cook as much as you can, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and then you're going to get a slotted spoon or a fork or something. You're going to flip it over and let it finish cooking on the other side. I suggest probably 8 minutes to a matzo ball. And then I take them out because I do them in batches, because if you put too many in, not so good, because they're going to be bumping into each other, and they're, you know, one's going to cook, one's not going to cook. Okay, so there's my vegetarian matzo balls. We'll let them go for a while. You can cover it, avoiding the turnover. Of course, I don't have a lid that fits right now, but you could do that, and then you don't have to flip them. So, okay, so you can see I found the lid that goes to this pot, thank goodness. And you can see how they're holding together really nicely. I don't know, I may stop and flip them only because I'm compelled to do it. But again, you don't really have to. We're at probably about 3 minutes at this point of cooking time. So I'm going to show you how I do it. That back there. Okay, so all you do is you come into the one side and you coax it over. Coax it over. And you coax it over. These are pretty good, actually. It was nice and hot. They held together well. I'm just going to let them continue cooking for about another 2-3 minutes, and then when I'm going to take them out so they're not sitting in the liquid, because if they sit in the liquid, what's going to happen is they're going to absorb every bit of liquid in there and not going to have soup. So as you can see, they look really nice. These are kind of like the little matzo balls that everybody knows, except for these ones, when you cut into them, you don't have to use a knife and fork. You can just use your spoon. All right, I'm going to, I know this didn't go as long, but I'm going to test one. That's what I normally do is, you know, everybody's got to try one. So let me just see. Take one out. And I'm going to show you, this probably isn't done. Okay, so you could see in there that some of it is cooked and some of it isn't. So we want to put this back in, and that's okay that it's cut in half because a half a matzo ball is just as good as a full one. And we'll let that finish cooking, and when that is done, the rest of these should be done. And then the tasting can start. Okay, now I'm into the chicken stock. And that's a nice rolling boil, as you can see. Again, what we were discussing before about not filling the pot so that they're not knocking into each other and they have room to expand. So here we go. There we go. And you'll see they're all going to rise to the top, which is a good thing. And these are kind of on the small side, but you know, when you make them, they are going to expand, so small isn't so bad all the time. Size isn't everything. If you look in here, I'm kind of mixing this up a little bit because there's some that was still on the bottom, but that's okay. You just incorporate it into the rest of it. And like I said, pop it in.
I'm getting hungry.
Soon enough. Okay. Now, you want to do these as quick as you can because the longer it sits, the harder they're going to get. You know, the more the concoction kind of settles and the egg whites deflate. So, as fast as you can do it, do it. I'm going to let those go for a while. And as you see, some of them have already obviously started cooking, so you kind of just go like that. Just flip them. They'll flip to the other side, very easy. And just let them cook. Okay, so these, let's take a look at our half guy. See how that's done now? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take out all the ones that are intended for the vegetarian version. I mean, I don't have anybody here. I made these for Ari, Shannon's girlfriend, so she's not here right now. So I don't have her here to taste them. So it's going to be a surprise. But look how beautiful. I mean, they're nice, they're round, and I'll show you. All right, I'll be the guinea pig and I'll try the one. So I'm going to cut into it, and you see how nice and soft they are? Hot, so be careful. Oh.
Bellissimo.
So good, so good. Now I have to get Santa some. Hold on. Can turn the phone, the camera around.
Light as air.
Okay, back to you. Now I have to eat some more, I'm sorry. And those, like I said, are the vegetarian ones, and lots of flavor. The vegetable soup soaks into it. It's wonderful. You can see these are all doing what they're supposed to do. I'm going to let them boil for a while, but ultimately, that's what you're doing. That is the recipe. Your soup, your mix for the matzo meal, the matzo balls, every process that I just showed you, folding it with your hands, making sure your hands are wet, a rolling boil, and as long as you see them floating, like I said, you can cover it and to try to avoid the turning over. I prefer to turn it over because that way I can see how they're doing on both sides. And the biggest thing is the testing. So I'm going to show you again on these. because these went in a little bit later. So I'm going to cut into this one. We're going to put the spoon. Where did I put the spoon? No, not in the sink. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'm going to cut into this. All right. As you saw, you know what? They weren't cooking as long, and they're still little, and they're kind of raw inside. So I'm going to put it back inside like I did before. I'm going to let those cook until they're cooked through. Once they're cooked through, pretty much I know that the rest of them will be cooked through as well. So that is my recipe for matzo ball soup, vegetarian, regular. I want to wish everybody a happy Passover, and on the other side of my family, I want to wish everybody a happy Easter as well. Love you all. I hope you are able to use this recipe in good health. Happy Passover.